Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, hello everybody. Hello. Okay, I don't know, we're gonna do something a little bit different today. Things are going good, Val. Things are going pretty good. Things, I'm pretty happy right now. I'm pretty content. Now, I hope you're doing okay. Something I want to try and attempt, okay, over the next month. Hey, Jerry. I hope everything is working okay here. This is a bit of a new setup. I've got like a document camera here, and I'm kind of messing around with that. So I've got this thing's a camera on like on an arm, and I've just got it directed at some paper. So my idea here is, I mean, I want to start drawing stuff. I want to start doodling, okay? And I'm just gonna mess around on paper, okay? I'm just gonna mess around on paper. And now the reason I want to mess around on paper is just like, I think I'm just going to be more comfortable doing that, right? Drawing's not exactly something that I do. It's not exactly something that I do, so it's not something I practice a lot. It's not something I mess around with. So learning like how to use, because I do have, it's not within arm's reach, okay? But trust me, I've got the iPad and the, you know, like the Apple Pencil and stuff, and like Procreate. So it is something I can kind of, let me see if I can get this to autofocus. It is something I can kind of, I have access to. So I'm not gonna mess around with learning that, because I'm gonna be putting myself at like two disadvantages there, right? I'm gonna be putting myself at the disadvantage of, I'm trying to practice and learn how to draw, and I'm also gonna be having to practice and learn how to use the iPad and the software and the pencil and all that sort of thing. So I think I'm just going to start off messing around on paper. When I start to get more and more comfortable with clowning around on paper, I'll maybe start moving into some more digital stuff and things like that, you know? He kind of looks kind of goofy. He's kind of hunchbacked over here. So I'm just going to stick with the paper for now and have this camera. But I'm glad you're excited for this, Jerry, because I don't know how exactly this is going to go. I'm excited for your doodles, your sketches, more star. I'm sure you're going to produce something freaking sick because you've put in all your practice to be really good at this stuff, you know? And I'm just kind of starting out. and trying to figure out what the hell's going on, what the hell I'm doing. I hope the camera isn't too bad, Val. I hope the camera isn't too bad. And hello there, Juan. Hey, let me get my Garfield plushie. Let me grab Garfield. So, I have this Garfield plushie. As with most of my plushies, this was given to me by the lovely Arisu Unicorn. It's given to me by lovely Arisu Unicorn. So which like most of my plushies have been given to me by Arisu Unicorn on Twitter.com. So that would include this little Garfield. That would include Knuckles. That would include Monty. That would include a little Freddy I've got. That would include a bunch of different guys. So as for the plan, as for the intention of what I want to do here, is I've got these videos, okay? So let me just open up that real quick as well. Where the hell is that? Oh, that's that. Okay. I've got these videos here, these drawer box lessons. So my idea is I want to watch these videos. So my idea is maybe we can like watch these videos together, right? I can kind of follow the instruction that they've got. Ooh, Jerry, I can totally do that. Because my room's quite dark. Wait a second. Wait a darn tootin' second. Okay. Is that a little bit better? The problem there is I think I'm going to have my shadow on it. Okay. I'll have to work on kind of doing that and kind of work out a better lamp I can put on and stuff like that. Because you're right, it kind of has... I'm seeing it on my screen and it's kind of alright. But then I'm seeing the stream and it's kind of getting a lot of noise. So I don't think I'm going to be able to easily do that today. But I will work on improving that in the future. So I don't know, is it better like this with the shadow, or is it better like that? Or actually, let me try another little source of light. I don't know. I feel we're going to have shadows today. But as I said, in the future, I'll try and improve this stuff. You know? I'll try and make this stuff a little bit better. Because this is totally, as with everything, it's kind of like a work in progress, you know? It's kind of like something we're trying to focus on. But anyway, and improve, you know? But anyway, as I was saying, my intention here is, I guess, kind of 3 things I want to try and do here. Okay? Kind of 3 things I want to do here. I want to follow this drawer box series, which I'm kind of pointing at the side over here. This Garfield gonna look hella goofy. I can already tell. I'm just gonna go stylized with it. I'm not even gonna try and like do them on model. I'm just gonna try and do like my own weird psychedelic Garfield because he's already kind of weird. So I'm just gonna lean into it. I want to follow this drawer box series. I also want to just sort of... Oh, dude, this is crazy cursed Garfield. I also want to just kind of mess around and draw. And... yeah, I don't know what else I'm trying to say here. But there are things I want to kind of get up to. Alright, so I just want to sort of like mess around, explore, do a little bit of drawing. I want to follow this this drawer box series. Oh yeah, and then the other thing I want to do, oh my god, he looks so goofy. The other thing I want to do is I want to the best of my ability, I want to try some of these Arttober challenge prompts, which Jerry collated and put together. Yeah, I'm just gonna lean into like how like goofy and crazy this Garfield is. I'm gonna give him like a nice pear-shaped body. Kind of make him look Weeble-ish. He kind of looks like one of those sort of like Weeble clowns. You know what I mean? Let's just make him real goofy. This is freaky Garfield. Okay. So after this I can kind of send over some goofy little images and whatever of some of the dudes that might get produced in however long we end up hanging out today, drawing little doodles. But yeah, I just sort of happened onto this camera today, and so I thought, oh, okay, cool. I thought like, okay, this is something we can mess around with, and I was planning on playing some Zelda today, and maybe I still will. But I don't think I probably will, because I don't think I'm going to have a lot of time after I do this. But yeah, I kind of happenstanced into this camera today, and I thought, wait a second. I thought we can do a few things with this goofy-ass camera. I thought one thing we can do is we can do some drawing. I said that's really easy, because I'm not super ready to dive into the world of like syncing up the iPad screen and you know, all that sort of jazz. And so I thought, hey, we can use this camera for drawing. I thought, hey, we can use this camera for finishing off that Lego build, right? And potentially doing some more Lego builds. I also thought you can just use it to show stuff. Like, check out this cool little this pin that again Arisu gave to me at the weekend. Little Cult of the Lamb pin. I thought it'd just be cool for showing off stuff, and then maybe even in the future, like it would be really cool to. For example, I got a little Pokemon card here. You can show off like Pokemon cards. and you know, various stuff like that. So I just thought that, like, oh hey, there's like an opportunity to do like Lego stuff. There's an opportunity to do little doodles like we're engaging with at the moment, and a bunch of different things. Okay, so there's Garfield 1. I'm gonna do another Garfield. I'm gonna try and do another Garfield a little bit quicker, and see how he turns out. The second time we get another Garfield. But yes, I thought this might just be like kind of like another fun little variation, because you know, you might be like tuning into this place and thinking this is like a video game channel, and I do love video games, but this is not a video game channel. This is a many things channel. The mouth is goofy, man. The Garfield mouth is goofy ass. Let's kind of see what we can. I still don't love this. Yeah, the thing I use for the face cam is I primarily use this dude. Bonk. And I guess to arrange that and use that might be kind of tricky. I'm not sure. Okay, this Garfield looks weird ass. Let's just give him like a... I don't want to live with this Garfield for very long. So I'm just gonna kind of finish him off. So I should draw a little lasagna. Yeah, let's put in a little lasagna over here. Oh my lord. Let's give him a little lasagna. Yeah, and there's kind of steam coming out with that. And he's like, lasag. No. Okay. Yeah, so I thought it would just be I thought this would kind of be a cool little thing to maybe mess around with and just do a little bit of do some couple of things. I'm gonna warm up with a couple of other little things. Okay? I'm not an artist, remember? I'm just messing around here. We're just having fun. But I'm gonna draw something I used to draw a lot as a kid. Right? I used to draw a lot of and I'm actually gonna try and do I'm gonna do kind of a goofy one. As a kid, I used to draw a lot of Ninja Turtles. So let's see if I can manage to put together a turtle of the teenage variety. Let's see what I can manage here. I'm not exactly going for any sort of like... If you know the Turtles, they've gone through many incarnations. I'm not exactly going for any specific incarnation here. I'm just kind of going for something. Let's give him a... We're going to go fairly toony. With our turtle. I always like them when they have the really long tails on the bandanas. I think they're really cool. We're just doing little. Let's make him Mikey. No, not a Mikey. Let's make him Raph. Followers of the Rex law know that I was Raph for the tours, the promotional tours for the new Ninja Turtles movie. So for the new Ninja Turtles movie, when they're going city to city to promote the tours, I was the dude in the Raph suit, in the Raphael suit, because I was skateboarding as well. because I was skateboarding as well. That was a goofy. I've done better refs, but he's okay for just kind of spitting him out there. Okay, so what I'm gonna dive into, as I said, is I'm gonna check out this video. So this is just like the intro video, the lesson 1. So I think what we'll end up doing is checking out the lesson 1. The lesson 0 it is, sorry. Checking out maybe the first part 1, the part 2, I don't know. And kind of see what's up here. So let me know how things are doing for volume and things like that. Yeah, I want to check this out. I want to see what's going on. Oh, Sonic. Yeah, we'll do a Sonic before we get going. Okay, I'm trying to do a Sonic from memory. Do you know what I mean? Actually, no. I can get the I can get my Sonic pillow and just kind of have a little look at Sonic before we jump into that video. Okay, Sonic's kind of got the Ooh, I don't like that already. I'm just gonna roll with it, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna actually roll with it. Am I doing like front-facing Sonic? Oh my god, am I doing front-facing Sonic? Okay, I want to do this. I actually want to do this. This is gonna be so goofy. I want to do front-facing Sonic. Oh my lord. Here he comes. Here comes front-facing Sonic. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, boys and girls. Here he comes. He's facing the front. Big Trouble in Little China. Dude, Kurt Russell. Good movie. Good movie. He's got kind of a bean body. That's kind of the thing with Sonic, is they kind of have like a bean body, don't they? And he's got a nice kind of clear chest there. And then let's give him the... kind of like Cuphead. I don't know. Kind of like that. And then he's got his gloves, doesn't he? Which are involved in kind of like this sort of thing, aren't they? Right? And then I'm just going to stick with doing the circular. Oh, those hands are big. You've got some big hands. And then let's keep him kind of in this goofy pose. And then his shoes are kind of like this. Alright? Shoes are kind of like this. Now let's apply that. And let's apply that. And then let's give him his thing. And let's give him this thing. Yeah? And then he's like, it's fast time. Yeah? Or he's like, ring up. Or what else does... what else does Sonic says? Sonic says like, now we stop Eggman. Yeah, like these are always sort of like classic sides. Volume's on the light side, but I still sort of okay. I don't advise you, but I just want to say Viva Doom, because you're a fan of Vivaldi. Okay, dude, I'm gonna... Oh, I can see... Oh, okay. I'm gonna reduce that mic thing. I can see it's hopping into this, like, red area on my screen. Gotta go fast. He doesn't say gotta go fast. He says, it's fast time. That's like Sonic's classic catchphrase. Or whenever he gets a ring, he goes, ring up. Okay, alright. So we're gonna try and do a werewolf Sonic. So, I guess he still has the sort of... He still has the this, doesn't he? For his eyes. Okay. But he's like, he's angry this time. Oh my lord. Okay, so he's kind of angry. And he's like... You know? Because he's a werewolf. And he's got his nose. And he's got his ears still. but like he needs to be a little bit more right? If he's in werewolf form. Werehog, right? He needs to be a little bit more. And then he's kind of bigger, isn't he? So let's give him like a Dorito body. Let's give him like, oh, dude, he's big. And he's like, yeah, man. Oh, but he's like, he's kind of like hunched, isn't he? When he's like in werewolf mode and he's got claws. Oh, my lord. Oh, my lord. And that's kind of, I don't know, man. I don't freaking know. I don't freaking know. Where? Hog. Oh my lord. That's wonderful. Where does his foot end and the other begin? Should we give him like a giant tail? Yeah, like a giant tail. There we go. And it's like the moon. Yeah, that upper torso, man. This dude's big. He's like a big guy. And then he had that little friend, didn't he? In the warehouse game, he had like that little like goofy dude, who was like, yip 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 yip, like, you know that little dude, and he like flies in the air. Oh, dude, we're doing Simba. Oh man, bro. Dude, I'm gonna. Maybe I should have a little search for a little Simba. Oh, okay, Simba. Yeah, okay, Simba. So, like, Simba's like... Yeah, Simba's like wide eyes, right? Simba's kind of like the emoji, right? Where it's got like the big eyes. At least if you're thinking about, At least if you're thinking about what's he called? Like Kid Simba. Oh, I've put his eyes really far away from each other. Oh my lord. This eye's way bigger. Oh, this is going to be goofy. This Simba's going to be goofy. And he's like a lion. And he's like... Oh my lord. What do I do here? I'm going to... Yeah, I could do that. Maybe. Yeah, dude, the Lion King. This is like classic stuff, right? And he's kind of like Tails, isn't he? Kind of like has this like fluffy stuff. And then Simba I guess got round ears, doesn't he? Oh, now there may be two round. We might be getting in like Mickey Mouse territory. So I was playing this. I don't know if any of you guys have played this. I was playing this game called Disney Speedstorm, right? It's kind of like a kart racer, but with Disney characters, with like way too many gacha mechanics. Oh my god, I do not like this entire area. He's like melting. He's like melting on this side of his body, and he's becoming like a pool of Simba. And he's like, Dad, help. But I was playing this this Disney game, Disney Speedstorm, and it had the Mickey Mouse in it. Okay, so Mickey Mouse, if we all remember, he's got like two eyes, and he's got his nose, and he's like yuck yuck, yeah. The Mickey Mouse in the game. I'm gonna experiment with the light again, just for a second. See what we think. The Mickey Mouse in the game, his ears were like, I'd expect them to be like, you know, circular, kind of. But like, they were so low polygon they were like freaking hexagons or something, and I was like, dude, this is unacceptable. Like, this is like so off model for Mickey Mouse. But I'm not drawing Mickey Mouse here, by the way. I'm drawing Michael Mouse, who's like my he's my original character. So this is Michael Mouse, and he's like a totally different thing. And so that's Michael. Oh, I spelled Michael wrong. This is a mouse. Okay, yeah, Ricky Rat. Okay, right. What I'm gonna do is I want to dive into this video. Okay, I want to dive into this thing here. I want to check out what it's all about. Oswald the Rocky Rabbit. The Rocky Rabbit is cool. I want to check out this video. And I want to see what we can learn. Tell me if the volume's kind of crazy. Let's see what this is about, man.
Drawbox is, contrary to popular belief, not just about drawing boxes. I mean, there is that, but there's a lot more to it. Drawbox is a free, exercise-based course that is designed to help students learn the core fundamentals of drawing. Basically, it seeks to arm students with what other more interesting and specific courses and tutorials may not address on their own, so students can later delve into those more interesting topics with more confidence and a lot less confusion. You can think of it like the beginner zone of an MMORPG, where you learn the basics of how the game works before running off into the world to start your own adventure. It's very common for students to rush straight into concepts that are more complicated without realizing it. A lot of people think things like figure drawing and anatomy are where you start, and then feel completely lost when their line work is scribbly and their drawings feel flat.
Okay, I like this a lot. Okay, I really like this a lot so far. I turned the volume up slightly on the board. I'm gonna turn up slightly here as well, and hopefully that's okay for you guys. Yeah, dude, I like that a lot. I really like fundamentals. I really like fundamentals. So I come from like a background of like process and what's the word? Like process and efficiency and stuff like that. Product and you know, carpentry, and these are kind of like a background I come from, and I really like and I really respect fundamentals. I want to bring up something really quickly, which is something that like speaks to me quite a lot, is this series of images here by Picasso. Okay, so what we've got here is a series of images. There's by Pablo Picasso, and it's called The Bull. Okay, now I've just noticed my screen's kind of goofy, so I'm just gonna take away that for a second. Yeah, these images by Picasso, they really kind of speak to me in how I like to sort of break down situations, and I like to try and learn. Whether that is a language, whether that is a sport, whether that is music, whether that is, you know, what I want to try and do here with, you know, with art. This is something that really speaks to me. It is a series of images of a bull. Now, if you look in the bottom left corner, you've got I think it's charcoal, I'm not quite sure, but whatever it is. You've got that sketch there of a bull, which is really detailed. and it has all of the kind of features that you would expect to see in, you know, in a bull, and it looks really good, right? It looks really good. Now, as you move through all the images, you can see he kind of experiments with them being more abstract, and he goes into like cubism and all that sort of thing before we finally get, you know, in the bottom right, we've got Pablo's signature, but Pablo, as if I know him. In the bottom right, we've got Picasso's signature, and just above that, we've got his final drawing of the bull, which I can recreate, right? So I'm going to bring up my little visualizer once again, and I can recreate. So his final version of the bull is, you know, here's my version of it, which is very similar to what he did, right? That's his final version of the bull. And this is the one that he calls the bull. And this is the one he puts the most importance in. Because the idea behind that is, if you can recognize the pieces which make up the bull, you know, being essentially it's a big slab of meat, its tail, its horns, its legs, then you can work from that starting point to build all of the other things. And I really love that kind of like approach to a skill of just like getting really secure with the fundamentals, because if you can do this, you can eventually do all of the other things. You can eventually do the realistic bull, you can eventually do the cubist bull, you can eventually do the, you know, the pointillism bull, whatever. But it all comes from a foundation in being able to do this. So I know I'm only like a couple of minutes in this video before I stop the guy, but he seemed to be going in that direction of saying like, hey, let's learn about fundamentals. You know, when it comes to, you know, carpentry, something I do, it's basically, can you make a box and can you make a curve? And once you can make the box, and once you can make the curve, then you can start to put all that together, and you can make, you know, more and more complex things. But it's learn that. It's don't learn how to make the table. It's don't learn how to make this one specific drawing. It's don't learn this one specific, you know, card trick or this one specific solo on the guitar. It's learn the fundamentals, then you have the ability to get somewhere. The idea of being just like really secure in stuff like this, so you have the idea to potentially go over there and potentially go over there and potentially go over there, is that sort of thing is like incredibly exciting to me. And like that's kind of like the idea of drilling. It's just like you keep drilling these things. You get good at doing that, good at doing that, good at doing that, good at doing that, until eventually this entire thing's becomes shaded of stuff that becomes second nature. It just becomes like habit. It just becomes stuff that you can immediately do. And because you've become so good at like trying to get from here to here, if I make a suggestion of like, can we try and do that? I can extrapolate and kind of get pretty close. I can extrapolate and kind of get pretty close. I can extrapolate and eventually be able to do it. So for me, it's that idea of just becoming like really crazy secure in fundamentals in any sort of skill or craft that really excites me and motivates me. It's drilling fundamentals, you know what I mean? And we're only like, you know, a minute into this video, but the way this guy was speaking there was really speaking to me in a way of like, oh, okay, that might be potentially what we're going to try and do here on this course. And that's exciting to me, because I don't want to just like learn how to like draw a dog like really well. I want to learn how to do this stuff so I can like make a dog and make something else. I want to learn how to make the box so I can make a table, I can make a chair, I can make a whatever, you know? That's just kind of my like philosophy on stuff that I've kind of like, I guess kind of like borrowed and extrapolated from other stuff. I don't know. I want a tattoo of that bull. It's really important to me. I want a tattoo of that bull, honestly.
Perfectly fine, and even important, to dive into those kinds of things early, well before you're ready. And we'll talk about why that is in another video. But if you go into it expecting yourself to be able to understand what's going on, you'll end up discouraged and feel inadequate for reasons that are completely normal and beyond your control. When Drawbox started out, it was a pure regurgitation of what I had learned from Peter Hahn's dynamic sketching class at Concept Design Academy. I felt that what I'd learned there was so important that I was eager to share it with those who weren't able to travel to Los Angeles and take those classes in person as I had. I did so at first by creating really sloppy, handwritten summaries of the lessons and posting them to the Art Fundamentals subreddit that I'd created for just that purpose, along with homework assignments that I'd critique for anyone who actually completed them. This, of course, was all done with permission from Peter, but he did encourage me to try and take it in my own direction. Over the years, the lessons were rewritten, more formalized, and with the increased experience and understanding of the material I had gained by simply critiquing others' work — teaching is a great way to learn after all — I found myself putting more weight on certain concepts and less on others, trying to always circle back to focusing on the things beginners need to know rather than getting caught up in the more complex or stylistic concepts. At the end of the day, Drawbox became its own separate thing. I still strongly recommend that those who can afford it take dynamic sketching at some point, whether it's from Peter Hahn himself or from the other schools that offer it. But I'll explain this in greater detail in a separate video. To put it simply though, where Drawbox will give you the basic tools to make your drawings feel solid and believable, dynamic sketching will help you learn how to make them look really cool.
Yeah, but dude, is this not like already is this not already solid and believable? You know? Is this not already a solid and believable image? GCSE is the it's the qualification that the high school students do in the UK. They do in England and in the UK. I think they're called SATs in the United States.
Cool. As they exist in their current form, the lessons specifically focus on helping students develop their spatial reasoning skills. That is, the understanding that what we draw on a flat piece of paper actually exists in three-dimensional space. To get students started towards that goal, we start out by looking at the most basic principles of mark making, with concrete techniques that can be used to improve your ability to make the marks that you want. Rather than treating drawing like an academic pursuit, where you memorize a ton of things and try and hold it all in your brain at the same time, we view it more like a sport. That is, through a combination of explanation, drills, exercises, and repetition, we push concepts from that conscious brain, which relies on memorization, down into your subconscious and muscle memory. That way we can focus on the what, that is, what we want to draw, and let our bodies handle the how and why. This, of course, takes time.
Dude, that's hype. That's, like, exactly what I was trying to, like, communicate here. Is, like, I want to get, like... I've got this muscle memory down. I've got this, like, security, this, like, internal confidence. I've got that down for things like, you know, carpentry. I've got that down for, like, some specific instruments. I've got that down for... I would say at this point running. I would say at this point skateboarding. I would say even, you know... fundamentals of kickboxing. There's a bunch of stuff where I'm in that zone so I can be creative and I just worry about what, like he was saying, that I vibe with. This is like, this seems to be, if this is constructed in the way that I'm being, you know, sold this year, this is how I like to think.
Months, in fact. This is not a course that you can complete in a day, in a week, or a month. While the quickest I've seen students complete the course without rushing took them about 5 months, I've actually had many students who've taken a year, and some even 2. More than anything, one needs to focus on simply giving everything, reading the material, watching the videos, and doing the exercises, as much time as it requires. The more we focus on going faster, the more we actually slow down due to the things that we miss in the process. At its core, Drawbox is just a starting point, a structured way to approach building a solid foundation upon which to build up all of the specific skills you're interested in developing. Because of this, it's not only well suited to complete beginners, but also self-taught artists whose foundations need to be more formalized. That's actually the category that I fell into when I started seeking out courses, as well as more established artists looking for ways to keep their skills sharp.
Okay, so I'm feeling good. Okay, don't forget for lessons available. Alright, so it's Raccoon Appreciation Day. Let's freaking go. Let's see what we got here.
It's not uncommon in art-focused communities for people to be told, work on your fundamentals. It's like a mantra, and while it is not incorrect advice, it leaves students asking the obvious question: what on earth are the fundamentals? Well, it depends on who you ask. Some people have a long list and will rattle off things like line, form, light, color, perspective, gesture, anatomy, and even style. All of these things are certainly important, but are they really fundamental to all art? To start, I should clarify. Art is a really lofty term that can include all kinds of things. What Drawbox attempts to explore are the core fundamentals of drawing specifically. And even then, technically it's the core fundamentals of representational drawing, meaning drawing things that exist in the world as opposed to that which is completely abstract. But let's not get caught in the weeds here. So, the core fundamentals of drawing. In order to determine what these are, I like to look at what elements are shared across all facets of drawing. Whether we're looking to draw something hyper-realistic or something hyper-stylized, like cartoons or anime, we are always drawing things that, in their original environment, exist in a three-dimensional world. We may end up drawing them as though they're flat shapes, but understanding how the thing being depicted exists in its original state helps immensely in deciding how to go about flattening them in our own art.
This is really interesting to me. I've never considered kind of thinking that as like an approach before, because I've never really been in a situation where I've thought about it that deeply. That's really interesting take to me. And I'm finding that has a lot of crossover with stuff I already engage with, right? Because I'm finding, when you've got your sketches, you've got your plans and your like bills of material for something you're building in carpentry, or whether you're dealing with free body diagrams in physics or something like that, you're always looking at those things as oh hey, that's a 3D object. You're looking at that and you're extruding the model in your head. You're looking at this and you're resolving it in the 3 dimensions in your head to be like, oh, the rope pulls that way, right? That's really, really interesting, because I haven't applied that thinking to this before. And really it's something you're doing in entire day-to-day life, because I mean, if you think about it, like you're viewing an image, this is our eyeball, right? You're viewing an image of this world around you, which eventually gets projected on, as a virtual image on the back of your eyeball, right? It's something that gets projected on the back of your eyeball as a 2D image. But the 2D image that we're seeing, the 2D image that's coming, we're looking at, at the back of our eyes right now, is a representation of like a 3D world out here. And this is saying, like, do the opposite, right? It's like you draw the thing to represent what's out there, rather than this goes in there. I don't know if I'm communicating that effectively, but something is beginning to sort of, like, click in my head.
As to the primary area Drawbox focuses on, understanding how the things we draw on a flat page exist in a 3-dimensional world. Or, more succinctly, Spatial reasoning. Spatial reasoning is effectively a mixture of two of the fundamentals I'd listed previously: form, with some core concepts relating to perspective mixed in. That's a point worth emphasizing. While Drawbox teaches the basics of perspective early on, it is not a perspective course and only covers the bare minimum in Lesson 1, along with a few more interesting concepts towards the end. So, if you want to learn the highly technical side of perspective, you'd still benefit from taking another course to fill in those gaps later on. Although, in my career as an illustrator and a concept designer thus far, that's not something I needed to explore further just yet. Similarly, if drawing is essentially the act of putting marks down on a page, then another fundamental of drawing would be the ability to put down the specific marks you intend, also known as mark making, and to do so with confidence and control. Beginners will naturally...
Dude, it's Street Fighter. It's frickin' Street Fighter, you know? It's frickin' Street Fighter. It's everything. This is like... It's when you start to realize everything's the same. Right? When you start to realize everything's the same. You know, you need those sort of like... Everything's grammar, right? This is how I look at it. It's like... Everything's a language, right? And kind of like, this is kind of how I look at it, right? And you've got grammar. And then once you've got the grammar, you can start to put that together into whatever you're creating, right? I'm just going to call that the original work, right? And, you know, so when it comes to, you know, your music, your grammar it has its origin in music theory, right? It has its origin in music theory. It has its origin in you having competency in your instrument or your DAW or whatever. Right? Once you're good with that, then you can imagine your thing and you can use your grammar to make up your sentences. Right? When it comes to kickboxing, right? Okay, I've got all my movements. Plus, I've got a good gas tank. I've got some cardio. Right? That's my grammar. I can start to put that together. I can make my original work. Mathematics. Mathematics is really grammar heavy. Right? So, like, I know all my principles. I know how, like, you know... I know my surds. I know my quadratics. I know my whatever the hell, you know? I know how to integrate. I know how to differentiate. I can start to put that together, make my original work. Right? He's talking about here is like mark making. Yeah, as in like this combination of like perspective and stuff like that. You get good at my mark making, I can put that together, make this original work. Yeah? Street Fighter, Tekken, man. You need to know your combos. You know how to move your character. Once you got that down, once you got the grammar done, you can do your original work. You can go fight. You know, everything's the same. Everything's the same. And I guess it's just when like the thing's alien is like you don't know the grammar of this new language, of this new game you're trying to play. And this idea of just like, dude, like, learn your mark making. I feel I'm already getting kind of like an insight of like a shining star of like what to aim for, you know? Like, it's like now I'm not like refraining in my head like, oh, I need to get better at like drawing Garfield. I need to get better at mark making. And if I get really competent at mark making, I can arrange those marks to be my original work, which will be Garfield. I'm vibing with this. You know nothing about music theory? It'll help. It will help, but you've clearly got the grammar of like some instruments. You've clearly got the grammar of using some digital audio workstations and stuff like that. So like you've got like grammar to like make this original work, which is sick, you know?
Naturally have trouble controlling the marks they put down on the page. And if we're struggling to get the specific marks we intend to draw, then that makes everything else quite a bit more difficult. Lastly, in order to draw real, physical things, or at least things that are even vaguely rooted in reality, we must learn to see what actually exists. This is known as observation, which is the ability to not just rely on our memory, but to actually pay attention to what's in front of us on a granular level. This is something we explore here to a point, though we don't get too caught up in perfectly replicating reference images, or perfectly matching proportions. We focus on learning to study source material closely enough to pull out specific, useful information for the purposes of constructing objects that feel real and solid. Just like with perspective, this is also something you'll be able to delve into much more deeply, especially when it comes to learning how to replicate things more accurately than we bother with here. At the end of the day, spatial reasoning is our main focus, with confident and controlled mark making, as well as observation, being skills that are required to work towards that central goal. Spatial reasoning is, by its very nature, something that takes a fair bit of hard work, practice, and time to develop. So it's a skill that the majority of free tutorials you'll come across either glaze over or skip entirely. Despite this, it still serves as an incredibly important component to drawing anything, especially when you want to go beyond directly copying existing images and instead create your own scenes and designs from your imagination. It simply isn't great for growing one's audience when you tell them, well, before you do all this, spend 6 months to a year learning how to think in 3D space. That doesn't mean such resources are bad or not immensely useful, just that they rely on you showing up with certain skills. This also doesn't mean that you shouldn't dive into using them right away. Rather, all it means is that not having everything make sense to you doesn't mean you're not suited to drawing. It's really easy to, say, jump into a figure drawing video on YouTube and to feel lost or to have your drawings come out feeling flat. You probably will learn some things from it, but your inability to apply them as effectively as you'd like can overshadow that with frustration. It's totally okay. You are not alone in this, nor are you broken. You're just in the 1st grade trying to read a 9th grade book. And you know what? That's great. You should absolutely do it. Just give yourself the patience and understanding that you deserve, and maybe mix in some 1st grade material in with it. That's what Drawbox is for. To that point, if you are interested in learning figure drawing, I would recommend you check out Art Anatomy for Beginners by Steve Houston on New Masters. For years, I've been looking for a course that takes an analytical approach to figure drawing, which is the way it was taught to me in a class with Kevin Chen, and it wasn't until we started figuring out this partnership with NMA that I found exactly what I was looking for. This approach lines up really well with the focus on form and spatial reasoning we take here, and following along with it in parallel with Drawbox will make for an effective mix. You'll find a link to it in the description below. So, what doesn't Drawbox teach? Well, if it isn't necessary for us to develop those 3D spatial reasoning skills, then we don't bother with it. Light, color, gesture, anatomy, and style. Out.
Cada año hay 12.000 personas estudiantes
Okay, man.
que acaban la FP de edad. Y vas a salir al mercado.
While we do have lessons that explore individual topics, such as plants, insects, animals, vehicles, and so on, none of these lessons are a guide on how to draw that specific thing. Rather, each lesson looks at the same problem. How do we take something complicated, break it down into simple forms based on what we're able to physically see, and how do we build them back?
Dude, this is it, man. This is what I'm saying. This is what I want to know. This is the bull, man. This is the bull. This is what I want to know. Sick, right? That's like, yeah. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's carpentry to me. That is music. That is Street Fighter. That is kickboxing. That is dance. That is whatever. That's everything. So that approach, that idea of like taking those like basic fundamentals and building them into something bigger, it's like, dude, that's it. People start talking like that, I log in, you know? I am paying attention to what we're talking about. So what are you saying, Mostar? This is exactly how you started drawing. I analyzed everything in the year. It was decent. I started in just before the start of 2020, and then drew for a year and stopped for like 1.5 years. Came back, stopped again, and I'm back at it, hopefully for good. I'd make a little try to break down stuff here, but figure these vids would go more in depth. These vids are great, so this like recommendation is sick. And I haven't stumbled upon these. Like for me, this is pretty low view count. For the kind of quality you've got, and obviously as we go through these videos, the views are going to get like way lower. Right? Because there's going to be people who watch video 1, 2, and 3, and do they hell make it to video 33. Like, these views are going to drop off kind of fast, I'm predicting. But for it to only have 220,000 views for, like, the quality it is, I think's crazy. And as I was saying, like, I've looked around for stuff like this before. Like, this is what I've looked for. And for a lot of things, I feel that, like, this kind of, like, style of instruction doesn't exist. And sometimes that hasn't mattered because, like, I've known enough about, like, for example, with carpentry, like, I learned my box and I learned my curve. And then I kind of figured out from that, like, I had enough to kind of start developing this. I had nothing here. So, like, these conversations and these, like, things that this dude's saying about, like, did I put it on the other side here? But the stuff he was kind of going on about spatial reasoning and, like, form and perspective and all that sort of thing, those, I'd not made of those, like, natural clicks and connections in my head on my own. So I wasn't able to, like, extrapolate outwards and sort of get towards being able to do anything. But, like, these things being said like that, this idea of it being a study of, you know, how things exist in three-dimensional space, I mean, that's incredibly exciting to me. Like, as a carpenter, as an engineer, as a physicist, like, that kind of stuff is really, really, really exciting for me because it's also really challenging. We are, you know, as I was talking before about, like, kind of the eye and the fact we're always seeing a two-dimensional image, we are not required to, or even really invited to actually really study and think about the fact that we live in a 3D space very often. It's really taken for granted. We very rarely have to consider the z-axis. So the fact that he's like, oh dude, like, you need to, like, get your spatial reasoning up and you need to just, like, appreciate that, like, it's not just there and there. It's also going back there. Like, that's like, oh, whoa. That's something I can get involved with. That's something I can study. That's something I've already studied in, like, different areas. But, like, let's now do it in a different place. And it's going to remain as challenging as it ever had. Because it's a difficult thing to do. It's tricky to be thinking about things in the third dimension. So it's like, oh, whoa, here's this challenge. Here's a thing to do. That's, like, that's exciting to me. So I'm getting hyped. Because of drawing and 3D sculpting, I see the world different than others. Yeah, dude, I can totally see how that's going to, like, be a thing. And I feel I already kind of go there from, like, a different perspective, from a, like, you know, from the maths, and from, like, the carpentry. I kind of mess around in that 3D world, you know, in my own way. And the idea of then bringing in, you know, art into it and this mark making thing. That's exciting, man.
Back up. Each of those different topics we explore brings something new and useful to the table, but it's always about looking at the same core problem from many different angles, the value of which is something we'll explore a little further in another video, when we talk about how to get the most out of this course. If you're familiar with other drawing courses, then you've probably seen them jumping straight into things like shading and talking about light, specifically using them as tools to take a two-dimensional shape and make it feel 3D. This is an approach we do not employ. Instead, we set aside all form shading and rely on other techniques that provide a much stronger understanding of how our forms exist in 3D space and how they relate to one another within it. Don't worry though, as with most things, we found that the understanding of 3D space we work to develop here helps provide a much stronger foundation for the understanding of how light and shading works, and so our students are generally better equipped to learn those concepts. After all, lighting is just the result of understanding the relationships between a light source and a form in the scene. If and when you're interested in learning more about shading, you can check out the 2 lessons on light and shadow in the Fundamentals of Observational Drawing course with Ilya Mirochnik on New Masters. The last thing I wanted to talk about is one more thing we don't teach, but something that's worth talking about a little anyway. That's style. Style is something that a lot of beginners talk about and think about, but they don't necessarily fully understand what it is, and more importantly, how it relates to the things we're learning here. I'll often have prospective students look at Drawbox and go, "Nah, I'm specifically interested in drawing anime," thinking that the concepts we explore here don't relate to them, and that comes down to a misunderstanding of what style actually is. Style is a series of choices that we make. There can be style in how you choose to walk, or style in how you speak, or write, or, in our case, draw. It's a formula we develop for representing things in a certain way, and while many people may joke that one might shield themselves behind their style in order to refute criticism, it isn't actually that easy for the simple reason that style has to be internally consistent. If you draw lips a certain way, you have to draw all lips that way, unless there's another specific rule that differentiates which lips are drawn in that manner. Those of you who are inclined towards mathematics and programming may think of style as a function, with the input being reality, the output being your final image, and the function itself being all of the instructions that define the style itself. Another way to think about it is that style is the lens through which we look at the world. They bend and alter what we see, but they do so in a consistent manner. Any rays of light coming from the same angle will always reflect in the same direction. And so, with style, the same thing displayed in the same circumstances should always be drawn in the same way. So when it comes to developing a style, it's really a matter of creating a list of instructions for you to follow every time. You can start with something as simple as, all my object silhouettes will have a thick outline. And gradually as you explore working with that choice, you might find exceptions, and the specific rules for those exceptions. It also helps...
That's really interesting, because, like, I've never really thought about, like, the rules of style. And I'm starting to think about stuff, and I'm just like, I've never thought that deeply about it. You know? I'm just, like, looking at the style, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, like, that's that style. And then when people talk about developing that style, I always think that it's like, oh, it's something that's just going to kind of naturally happen, right? And that's just going to be like, oh, you tend to draw that way, so it turns out like that. But it's like, no. Like, you could actually, like, you know, what he's saying there is, like, consciously design a style. Of, like, hey, it's like this, it has that, it is this, it blah, blah, blah. So you could actually sort of, like, that could be a fun game, couldn't it? Of, like, you end up, like, you brainstorm together and write down all these rules, and then you've got a style, then you've all got to, you got to do it. You swear drawing skills improved so much because of sculpting. From what's being said here, and what my eyes are, like, beginning to open to, that makes complete sense, right? Because if you're perceiving things in this like 3D space and whatever, and then you're trying to, represent 3D spaces with your mark making, then I can totally see how that would happen. My art teacher wanted us to draw exactly in a certain style, and if we didn't, we failed. That's how I failed. Okay, that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks. Unless it's like literally an assessment point on like, drawing in that specific style. Then, oh my god. To touch the 3D. I mean, I've not touched the 3D in a while. From my perspective, the 3D, it was a lot of SolidWorks, a lot of AutoCAD, a lot of stuff being used in like the engineering space for like, designing or rapid prototyping parts and things like that for larger systems and things like that. I haven't touched the 3D in like a while, a hot minute, and not with kind of all these like, modern stuff that like the stuff I was using there is very sort of like industrial engineering stuff that like plugged into packages for simulation of fluid analysis and stuff like that. Hey Militar, how's it going? Hope you're doing good. Oh, it was not an assessment. It was just like, your art teacher just wanted you to do that. That's not ideal.
To study the work of other artists. Master studies are a type of exercise we can perform to help explore aspects of how others work. It's the act of reproducing the work, but with specific focuses. For example, maybe you want to study how John Singer Sargent paints faces, or how Sui Milk uses abstract shapes to help the physical elements of her paintings pop, or how Craig Mullins manages to imply complex imagery through the use of just a couple of well-placed brushstrokes.
Dude, this is like so much how much I've been missing, to the level I've been missing this grammar, right? Because people talk about study, like, oh, I'm going to do art study, and I did not have the awareness or the language to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this art study to, how this guy does strokes, or how this, this person does noses, or how this person, does tails, or whatever. Like, for me, like, art study was just like, I'm just going to copy stuff. I'm just going to copy stuff, which just shows my kind of, like, complete, like, lack of understanding and ability to sort of, like, approach the topic and approach the subject. Militar, I'm doing good. I also like some cheese Pringles, man. Cheese Pringles are good. Sour cream Pringles as well. I vibe with those.
Taking things even further, you can research what influenced the artists who influence you, to go back to their own roots and really understand the thinking behind their stylistic choices. At the end of the day, no artist is bound to just one style. You might have a variety of different styles to choose from, and if you're planning to work as an artist in a studio, you may be asked to produce your work while adhering to different stylistic rule sets. Hell, you may even find yourself using multiple styles within the same project. Bringing it back around before I digress too much, style is a barrel of monkeys all on its own, and it's something you will have the chance to explore to your heart's content. But underneath this litany of stylistic choices, there always exists the core foundation of the real three-dimensional world, and that is the one we seek to build here by focusing on spatial reasoning, confident and controlled mark-making, and careful, patient observation.
That's the bit that's gonna be like the struggle for me, right? What did he say? Careful and patient observation. That sounds like the bit that I'm gonna find very, very tricky. I think the bit I'm gonna find the most compelling is building up confident and controlled mark making. That sounds sick to me. That sounds like incredibly powerful. But yeah, that's sort of like patient observation. That sounds tricky to me. That sounds pretty tricky to me as like a concept. But cool, man. I'm gonna watch another part.
Encuentra tus pestañas con un toque. Elige Google Chrome.
Hey friend, what are you doing? ¿Qué? Perdona. What are you doing? Ahora sí, que...
There we go. I'm gonna preemptively like this, man. Yeah, dude, we've already dropped down to 167,000. Like, people have the best intentions to, like, you know, watch these things, do these things, but...
I was talking to Scylla.
Oh my god, look at how much better his setup is compared to this. I'll work on the lighting. I'll work on all this stuff, man. Because in comparison, it's night
The
and
one
day.
editing this video, not long ago. And she said something that captured the spirit of this video very concisely. She said, remove the word success from your vocabulary. You don't know how to use it right now. Success. It's such a lofty word, and it's a word we seem to learn in whatever language before anything else. The moment you picked up this course, which promised to teach you the core fundamentals of drawing, you probably had notions of success in your mind. Success at drawing all the things you've held inside for so long. Or perhaps success at finding those ideas within yourself, feeling otherwise empty and devoid of creativity at this moment. We all want to succeed, and conversely, we all hate to fail. Perhaps it's a normal, natural human problem, or perhaps it's something that we're conditioned to feel due to our exposure to traditional academics. But what if I told you that failure was the path to success? What if I told you that your fear of failure is what stands in your way and holds you back from that success you desire most? What if I told you your fear of drawing things badly, of embarrassing yourself, and your sense of shame is precisely what makes learning to draw so difficult? Before we really dig into that, let's ask ourselves a simple question. If and when we become as skilled as we could possibly dream, what would we spend our time drawing? Some people will be able to answer this quickly, while others may struggle, thinking that they don't actually have any ideas at all, that their brains are just empty. In my experience, both in having been such a person and in speaking to others, this isn't actually likely. Some of us are just hyper efficient at filtering our thoughts. We'll try to come up with ideas, but instead of simply accepting an idea for what it is, we immediately start to consider whether it's a good idea, or if we, with our current skills, would be able to pull it off. And if we don't consider ourselves to be ready, we come to a single motivation-crushing conclusion. I can't draw that. Like someone is going to bust through your wall and punish you for ever having tried. You can't. Maybe one day, but not now. But why not now? Shame? Embarrassment? Over what? We are the ones bringing this to the table. We are the ones putting this undue pressure, this weight on our shoulders. There's no one else. No third party who's going to chastise you for it. If you even decide to post your attempt online, which is entirely your choice, the worst that'll happen is that people will ignore it. No one will be angry or disappointed, because the truth is, no one actually cares. And that's a good thing, because it means you're free to try anything and everything and nothing will go wrong.
I mean, honestly, this part, I don't care about. I do not have the sort of... I'm lucky enough to be in a kind of a state in my mind where kind of that, like, fear of the blank page or whatever, or like, I'm scared to start because I don't want to produce anything unless it's really good. I have been plagued with that before, but honestly now, I mean, you've seen the stuff I make. The stuff I'm sloppy as anything. Yeah, when it comes to like the YouTube videos or on Twitter, or when I had this paper out here and I was drawing, I don't care, man. So luckily this part of the journey and that kind of changing your mindset, I've kind of worked on that a lot. And I mean, I'll grab a book that's really nearby me that I've been reading. So I've been reading this recently. How Learning Happens. Seminal works in educational psychology and what they mean in practice. Because I'm just constantly interested in how I can, like, improve my, you know, sort of like relationship with knowledge, or like, you know, my semantic memory or whatever. I just want to learn, man. I just want to learn. I want to get better at running. I want to get better at, like, playing instruments. I want to be more creative, and I think all these things are linked. So I'm always just trying to kind of look for what sort of connects this stuff. And if I fall on my face and make a fool of myself, I don't really feel I do, because I don't think it's foolish, so I don't really care, you know. So luckily this point of, like, reframing success because you don't know what it means is because it's like, yeah, I don't. I mean, I know what success means in things that I'm competent in, you know, but stuff that I'm still learning, I don't know what success and failure is. So it is just like, it's not even about trying. It's just about doing something, and it's like, sick, you've done something. Yeah, sorry, I don't have ad blockers. I don't have anything.
Will you draw the thing well? Probably not.
Garfield.
But that's okay, and that's the point. You have nothing to lose by trying. In Drawbox, this isn't just some empty platitude or nicety to keep you warm on a cold night. In fact, it's something that students truly loathe, especially early on. In Drawbox, we don't simply encourage you to throw yourself into drawing things that are well beyond your skill level. We demand it. We've even given it a name. It's called the 50% rule, and you're probably going to hate it.
Fiverr. Find the right freelance service right away.
Come on!
The 50% rule is simple. For every minute you spend working on learning to improve your drawing skills, through courses, exercises, studies, tutorials, and so on, you must spend an equal measure of time on drawing purely for the sake of drawing. Now, a lot of you will have the immediate response of, oh hell no, I'm a beginner. I can't draw anything. Maybe I'll do this after I've gotten somewhere with the course itself. I've heard it a million times, and it comes from a place of fear. Fear that, like I've already mentioned, will be judged or shamed or embarrassed. Fear that the end result will make us
Okay, so what are we? We're like an hour into this video. So I need to do an hour of drawing.
like
I need to do an hour of drawing.
beginners?
We're gonna
Since
do
when
this,
was that a
man. We're
bad
gonna
thing?
follow the rules.
Then there are those among you who will focus on what you get out of it. It is fairly normal for students to think of this as a waste of time, but I'll explain in a moment why it's so valuable. While everyone is certainly a little different, and there are some among you who will happily follow the rule without issue, they are in the minority. There is, however, one thing
I'm the
everyone who's
minority.
taking this course shares. They'd
the
like for their
minority.
drawings to be better. They'd like to improve. Whether it's to please themselves, to impress others, or to work towards a career, no matter the reason, they're here for the same core goal, to draw better. The 50% rule asks you to, half the time, forget about getting better. Forget about being good. To focus only on the act of drawing, of playing, as though the page is going straight into a shredder when you're done. This will be frustrating at first, and you will hate it. But over time, if you stop fighting it, it will get easier. It will become enjoyable, eventually. And this is what will get you through this course and every course thereafter. There are a number of reasons why the 50% rule is important. Firstly, the 50% rule wasn't around the whole time. Drawbox is a course that is constantly evolving based on what I've learned about, well...
Okay, this is kind of something that's sort of slightly contradictory with me. Is I'm not good at following instructions. I don't like rules. I'm quite anti-authority. and I'll be very quick to like be told to do something and be pretty defiant against it. Now that being said, if I can be given suitable reason, so basically like my heart and mind can be won, I can buy into it, I will yes sir, I will go do the thing. I will be like, you know, how high? Yeah, you say jump, I say how high. And right now I am dude, Val, we can talk about times I've been detained before and things like that. We can get into those conversations at some point. But if I can buy into what we're doing, and I can see the reasoning of why we do something, I will go do it, right? So I can be incredibly disciplined when I see the value, you know, for me, or for, you know, I'm not purely selfish. If I see the value for me, or like, you know, like my people around me, my tribe, my local community, whatever, I can buy into the process. So this dude here is saying like, okay, for like, you know, your 50% of study, or 50% of whatever, how much time you spend studying, like match that time, just like doodling and drawing for the sake of it. And this is why I'm like already so bought into the process that I'm like, okay dude, like, okay, we'll do that, you know. I got my marathon plan. My marathon plan is brutal, right? But it's like, this is what you need to do to get better, and this is why, and this is kind of the evidence for it. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's do it. Let's go. And I will stick to it. I will be disciplined.
How other people learn. I'm no fancy professor with a master's degree in learning sciences. I'm a self-taught instructor who's learned by doing. So, one problem I saw my students encountering was that after they'd go through the whole course, they'd have developed a great deal of technical skill. But when it came to drawing the things they actually cared about, cool vehicles, engaging characters, complex settings, and interesting scenes, they were still afraid. And that fear caused them to overthink, which in turn resulted in drawings that made them look far less capable than they were within the comforting confines of the course material. The reason for this simply comes down to the fact that everything is a skill. Even understanding how to take the tools you have at your disposal, that courses like Drawbox arm you with, and to apply them to a specific problem or towards a certain goal is itself a skill. And it's one that will inevitably go underdeveloped if all we do is focus on the courses to hold our hands. Play is important. It's something children do really well, because they're not so afraid of being judged. But as we grow, we forget how. Furthermore, and this is important, it becomes a lot harder to learn how to play when you've developed the technical skill and the expectations that come along with it. As a beginner, there are still some barriers of expectation, but it's far easier to remind yourself of the simple fact that you are a beginner, and that any such expectations are utterly ridiculous. After you've spent 6 months, or a year, or 2, learning the fundamentals though, if you find yourself still struggling to apply those skills to the things that are actually truly important to you, you might just throw everything in the garbage and quit. Of course, even those people can learn to play, but it will save you a lot of pain to get through the hard stuff now. And trust me, even in the face of some of the grueling exercises and challenges that await you here at Drawbox, the 50% rule will be the most difficult, at least at first. Secondly, it helps us learn and process the information that we absorb through the lessons.
Imagine if every search you
Hey,
made
come on, you
helped turn this
adverts, man.
into this, or did this.
Oh, hey, Coffee, I hope you're doing okay. I'm just kind of... Oh, that sounds really cool. You've been making stuff. Yeah, I'm studying art here. We've been doodling a little bit. We've got our, Freaky Garfield.
In learning, there is time spent actually studying, doing exercises, reading instructional books, and so on. We'll call this the positive space of learning, the real meat of it. And then, on the flip side of the same coin, there is the negative space. That is, the time in between, which we spend on pretty much everything that isn't active learning. This includes things like eating, sleeping, watching TV, reading fiction, hanging out with friends, or playing video games. Traditional academics, and really anything that puts a lot of focus on achievement and ambition, focuses heavily on the positive space of learning. And in doing so, it makes us ignore and even reject the clear benefits of the other side. Taking breaks, pushing our brain to focus on other things, playing, and sleeping are incredibly important for the simple reason that our brain needs time to process and assess what we've learned. It cannot do this while continually taking in yet more new information. Those who cram for exams rather than pacing themselves and spreading things out encounter this frequently. In order to learn optimally, we must seek balance. Balance between work and play. Not only does it help make learning more efficient, it also helps us focus better during the periods of active learning. It's common for students to get bored and distracted when forced to study and work for too long, and this can result in aimless doodling on the side. While doodling isn't inherently bad, as a lot of people doodle while listening to lectures and find that it helps them absorb the material better, it does, however, impact how carefully a student might complete a drawing exercise, as it pulls away some of the cognitive resources we need to be using in order to complete the work to the best of our current capacity. By creating clearly delineated times for work and for play, we are able to burn off that nervous energy, so we can focus our cognitive resources singularly on the task at hand when it's time to work. This also means that when we play, having done our work at our best, we can more easily allow ourselves to play shamelessly. Of course, those of you with ADHD or other similar struggles understand your circumstances far better than I do. So that specific point may not apply to you as directly, but take from it what you can. And of course, if you suspect you might have ADHD, do what you can to get diagnosed, as it can open up access to strategies to help manage the condition. That said, I really shouldn't speak too much about things I myself do not understand. Normally, when those topics come up, I have one of my teaching assistants who does have ADHD, and who's had periods of working through this course, both medicated and unmedicated, weigh in as she can speak from a position of first-hand knowledge. Sluggy, as she's been called since she joined our Discord community years ago, is also a clear sign that while these challenges can make things more difficult, they will not stop you from pursuing art, whether as a hobby or as a career. Though she's still early in her freelancing career, she's been able to work on projects for Ubisoft, among others. To that point, and this will be relevant to many of you, a lot of people out there will really struggle with the idea of doing something only to fail. Many of us have been taught that our value as an individual is inextricably tied to our ability to succeed, to the point that where forcing yourself to fail, as this course will have you do quite a bit, can actively trigger depressive episodes. It gets that much worse when you consider how many people actively try and use art as therapy, not as part of a larger regimen, but as their singular self-prescribed solution, and unfortunately, it can make things worse. For those of you in that situation, I strongly urge you to seek out whatever professional support you can. Therapy with a trained professional isn't about changing who you are, or attempting to fix you. Rather, at its core, it's about giving you the tools you need to better manage and understand your emotions, so that when you're faced with a bad drawing, you can understand not just on a logical level, but deep within you, on an emotional level, that this does not in any way suggest that you yourself are bad. So, don't be afraid to step away from this course and to seek out that help when you need it. We'll still be here when you're better equipped. Getting back on topic, and to recap, there are a number of critical reasons the 50% rule will make your learning experience more effective and more efficient. Firstly, it'll help you develop the skills that do need to be developed at some point, and doing it now will help you avoid some stinging disappointment later on. Second, the downtime spent on things other than active learning, preferably in a more relaxing fashion, will help you process the things that you've learned and absorb them more fully. Arguably, there are many ways to do this, though it does help if you're actually drawing things at the same time. And third, cleanly separating work and play allows us to do each wholeheartedly. Before I end this lecture and leave you all to sit paralyzed in front of a blank page, I have a video about that, by the way, you can watch it here, I want to talk a little about another fear students tend to have, the fear of developing bad habits. It's the fear that if I just jump in and start drawing like nothing matters, that I will learn to do things incorrectly, and this will follow me as I continue to develop my skills, making things harder. There are all kinds of things that beginners do naturally that they ultimately have to unlearn. Chicken scratching, drawing everything from the wrist, symbol drawing, and more. So
I don't know what any of
this
that
fear
stuff is. I don't know what any of that stuff is yet. I have no idea, but we'll find out. Maybe I do those things. Is this chicken scratching? Is that?
It is, however, a waste of energy. As you develop any skill, you will learn and unlearn things. Many things that were useful for one reason or another initially stop being useful and become crutches later on. The fact that you outgrew them does not mean that they were not important and even necessary at some point. There simply isn't any use in worrying about the inevitable. And above all else, remember, the end result of these 50% rule drawings don't matter. That's why it's perfectly okay for me to tear up this drawing into itty-bitty pieces, despite having quite liked the monkey businessman and his banana.
I like that. I vibe with that. I vibe with this. I vibe with this. Okay, so
Puede ser complicado.
I think
crear una
are we at the end
contraseña.
of that video? No, there's still more here. Okay.
But wait, there's more. There are a couple of questions I tend to get a lot in regards to how one should be approaching their 50% rule drawing, so let me knock those off here. First, should I be trying to apply the techniques from Drawbox while working on the 50% rule? No. Draw in whatever way feels most comfortable to you. Drawbox is designed to have you drawing so much that you will have plenty of mileage to take the lessons and push them down into your subconscious. The lessons will become instinct. Rather, as you play, it's better not to be too stiff and worried about technique. This is the time where you just want to let go. Second, do I have to do my 50% rule in pen? This question comes up simply because we really stress the use of pen and ink when doing the Drawbox lessons. Again, the answer is no. Draw with whatever tools you're interested in using.
We got pen.
A lot of students come to Drawbox really interested in digital media, but end up disappointed that we focus so much on traditional tools. I get it. I'm almost strictly a digital artist myself, and we'll get into the reasoning for this later. Rest assured, though, you are welcome and even encouraged to dive straight into drawing and painting digitally as soon as you like for this 50%. This will also have the benefit of helping you get used to the specifics of using those tools, as this is yet another skill separate from these core fundamentals of drawing and will need to be explored at some point. Third, can I use reference during the 50% rule time? This is a difficult one, because the answer is both yes and no. It comes down to understanding your own intentions. Are you reaching for reference specifically because you're afraid to draw something badly? If that's the case, if that's something you just would not bother to try without the reference, then no. Draw it however you can from your imagination and let it go poorly. If, however, you're completely comfortable with that, perhaps after you've done your 50% rule time without reference for a few weeks, just to be sure, you can go ahead and use reference, with one major caveat. You may not simply work from a single reference image, effectively copying it as it is. This is called a study, and it's a useful drawing exercise that involves copying an object from observation or reference photo, in order to learn more about some specific aspect of it. As it is a tool for learning and improving, it falls under the same 50% as Drawbox and whatever other courses, lessons, exercises, and tutorials you may be working through. Instead, you need to make the decisions yourself, and merely use reference to fill in the gaps. For example, you may decide to draw a character astride a tiger, charging through a bazaar. Good luck finding a photo of exactly that to paint from. Instead, you'd find a picture of a tiger running, a person riding a horse, and multiple shots of market stalls, taking parts from each of them and incorporating them into your work. A quick note: when you do decide you're ready to use reference, PureRef is an excellent tool for organizing your reference and displaying it as you work. While it is available for free, it is so undeniably useful that if you can spare a few dollars, it'd be a shame not to pay what they recommend. Now you may go, but what you should do next is go over to the Drawbox website, whichever page this video is on, and take a look at the Other Resources section. I'll have some links to the other videos about developing a healthier, more resilient mindset from people like myself, Steven Zapata, and others as I find them. Before you go, if you're interested in other great and affordably priced learning resources, check out our sponsor, New Masters Academy. They've got thousands,
Yeah, you hear the word
literally
tiger, and you're like, Tiger
thousands
Jerry.
of hours of video lectures from acclaimed instructors like Glenn Vilppu, Michael Matesi, Steve Houston, and a ton of others. If you sign up with the coupon DRAWBOX22, you'll get a full 35% off your first billing cycle. Even as Drawbox helps you level up on these useful tools and skills, there's no time like the present to dive into your real interests, so they can grow alongside your fundamental skills, developing you into a well-rounded artist. And of course, if Drawbox's approach doesn't end up being for you, it's only one path of many. NMA's got a ton of courses that dive deep into the fundamentals as well. You'll find a link to New Masters in the description below.
Okay, so that last video I thought really valuable, I think really useful, but I think not a lot of the problems which I'm facing, because it was kind of talking a lot about you know, like the psychology of like failure and learning and whatever, and I feel I'm really sort of like chimed in on that zone already. One thing it did talk about quite a bit was it was talking a lot about that 50% thing. So this stream's been going on for an hour and a half. I spent the first half hour doodling, and I did the next hour was spent studying with Drawbox. So if I'm going to follow the 50% rule, if I'm going to truly follow the 50% rule, I still owe at least half an hour of drawing. So I'm going to switch to the ink like he said. I'm not quite sure of the reasoning yet, but he said like, okay, hey, draw in ink. And I'm going to start drawing, and I'm going to focus, as I said, we got this 30-day Arttober challenge, which Jerry, who's talking to us in the comments, he put together these prompts. And the first one I've got there is a character or Sona bio. So I'm going to mess around with that idea. And the way I'm going to interpret that idea, okay, is I'm going to draw us a Rex. I'm going to draw us a Rex. Let's see how this Rex turns out. He's looking kind of smug. I'm going to draw us a Rex. Alright? Let's kind of do current Rex. Current Rex at the moment, right? At the moment, I've got like a ponytail. My hair is kind of long. So let's kind of do current Rex with the ponytail. Oh, you're working on the first prompt too. That is cool. I'm gonna give myself a little upward tooth there. So I got the piercings in. So So I got the nose ring here. And I got the industrial. You try thinking about the 3D. Okay. I'm gonna try. It's a big ask, right? I'm gonna try. I'm just gonna start off kind of doodling. But yeah, man, I'm gonna try and keep this in mind. As we get our Rex into play. Okay, that sounds like a cool idea. What do you think? I should do that afterwards, or should I quit what I'm doing now? Actually, I kind of want to jump into that idea. So Rex's head is a ball, very much so. And then I think the idea of necks, I think that kind of really stresses me out. You know? But I guess if I kind of want to go simply, I can kind of think like as a cone. Okay, I'll come back to that after I finish. I think that'll help a lot. I think we can kind of do that progression. Hee. I've been wearing a lot of bracelets recently. Let's chuck that stuff on, right? A lot of baggy shorts. Let's do some big ass pause. Boom, 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 boom. And then let's hop over here. Yeah, so big ass cylinder. And then I guess when it comes to the shoulders and the arms, this is kind of where I'm losing some confidence. You know what I mean? But then again, I feel like we're kind of already making a little bit of progress, right? I feel we're already sort of getting somewhere. Yeah, that's what I thought, man. I was just thinking like, oh hey, let's kind of chuck in some joints. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I know this is going to be tricky and whatever, but I want to give it a good go. You know, I want to give it a good go. I want to give it like a genuine attempt. I want to see what I can produce. All right. Still moving them neurons. Oh, he's become a lot taller in the process. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? That is not necessarily a bad thing at all. Tail end now, man. Lol. Lol. Okay. I'm sticking with this idea persona bio, right? So what I'm gonna kind of sketch around here is I want to include. I'm gonna interpret that, and I'm gonna like just sort of provide, I guess, like biographical things, right? So I'm gonna try and like provide some sort of like biographical detail of things I like. So, for example, I'm gonna chuck in a little boxing mitt. So I like my boxing. So I'm gonna chuck in a boxing mitt over here. I'm somewhat pleased with how that turned out. Let's chuck in, especially because it's kind of easy to draw. Although I feel, whenever you see this bad boy in drawings, like people do these like wonderful drawings, right? And it's like a your character here or something of some oh, your PlayStation's exploding. Dude, I'm drawing a Switch over here. I feel when people draw these, I can't even remember all the buttons are. But I find that, like, you know, when people draw the Nintendo Switch, they do this like really wonderful artwork. And the Switch, the like proportions are all like goofy and wrong. I feel they're all like goofy and wrong. Draw a punching bag. Alright. We can do that. So now what I'm doing here is I'm kind of taking the dude's advice, right? And I'm fighting the temptation to just simply look behind me and look at the punching bag in my room. I'm trying to avoid that temptation. Dude, I don't think I'm going to be able to draw Queen Vexus. I can't remember the character. It's been such a long time since I saw My Life as a Teenage Robot, you know? I've got a standing frame. I didn't want to like have one that I had to like attach to the wall, you know? Because I'm in a rental. And I don't actually know how particularly... I'd like to be here for a long time. I don't know. I never know what the future is going to hold, right? So I'm not totally sure on how long I'm going to be here. I would like to be here for a while, right? But I don't know, man. The idea of... It's like, it's a bit of a task. Right? It's a little bit of a task to like attach a punching bag to a wall. So, what I opted for was, I opted for just getting the standing frame. And then if I move, if I need to, right, I can take this bad boy with me. And it's just going to be a question of dissembling and reassembling. I think it's like this, and then I think this kind of goes at the back, right? And then there's like a strut here that kind of comes up, and that's for the counterweights, right? So what you do here is you put on a stack of counterweight discs. So then when I'm impacting into here, and I'm sending force that way, I've got a counter in that direction. To something kind of like that. So we got ourselves a punching bag. I'm going to look behind me. Hey, that's okay, man. That's okay. If I want to kind of put the specific patterns, my punching bag's kind of goofy. I came into this punching bag in really weird circumstances. Somebody I knew died? No, that's not true. Somebody I know had a family member who died. A little bit outside of Madrid, right? Still within the comunidad. So that's what we'd consider, I guess, our state, our county, whatever you want to say. And, you know, they were dealing with this relative who died. And they were going through all our things. And they found the bag, physically the bag. Not the support. I got the support. But they found the punching bag and a bunch of other stuff. And they were like, hey, Rex loves boxing, kickboxing. Would he like this? And I was like, thank you very much. That will go to good use. And it was one of those situations where they're like, yeah, we want it to get, like, used. You know what I mean? We'd like this to go to somebody who uses it. And we know you get up at 6 in the morning to go to the 7 a.m. kickboxing class with all that sort of stuff. So they were like, this will get good use with you. And it's gone to very good use with me. I use it all the time, man. I want to draw a guitar, but I'm scared. But I'm going to do it. Okay? I'm going to draw a nice Telecaster shape. Now, I should be able to do this because of the amount of these which I've made out of wood. It's like if I can actually extrude this and make this out of wood in reality, it's like I should be able to draw the bloody thing. I should be able to depict the thing. Oh, but it's looking very flat, isn't it? I wasn't considering. I was just really considering the profile there. I just really wanted to get my let's do like just a 2 pickup setup, right? I was focusing so hardcore on getting the shape right that it's come out looking hella flat, man. But let's do a little bit of that. I don't know if that makes sense. Try and put the jack there. Gonna try and extrude a little. Oh, baby. The mark making. The mark making. Whatever, man. We'll develop this over time. You know? Dennis should probably draw teeth. Yes, they got perfect analogy method. And yeah. I just the reason though, Mostar, is that because that isn't totally translatable, right? The reason I was just feeling that this should be kind of a little bit more translatable is because this is something that I'm crafting in 3 dimensions, you know? So I feel I should kind of be okay with it. Do you know what I mean? And the amount of times I'm working with the plans for these things, and you know what I mean? It's like, so then I'd be there, then I'd be down to 7th fret. And oh my god, I've made like a 12th fret guitar. Ah! Okay, well, we can Obviously, I'm gonna need to put the bridge on. Right? And we put all the screws down here. And then once we got that there, we can actually string our guitar. Holy moly. Hey. Hey, this ain't half bad, man. Dude, this guitar's okay, man. This guitar right here, this guitar could go on, like, you know, kind of like the sketched cover of, like, a lo-fi album. You know, this could be on, like, the cover of, like, an Adam Green record or something. Daniel Johnston. That's not half bad, man. That's okay. That's not half bad. I think that's okay. And the thing is I'm so, like, I'm so intimate with putting together a Telecaster. I know where all the frickin' screws are. I know where all the frickin' screws are. So I can put these all on all day, baby. I can fill this and get all these screws in the correct positions. I would have one over here, wouldn't I? And then I got one here, and then I got one there. Hey, that's not half bad. That's not half bad. That's okay. As I'm saying, that's kind of like some stylized stuff that I could have on a record, you know? I think that's cool. This right here, yeah. Turn this into a square. You know, you got the cover to the Rex EP. You got the cover to the Rex EP. I'm telling you, man. All right, let's do a little dung bell over here, and let's kind of. Oh, dude, you've been watching some guitar solos. Let's frickin' go, man. Let's frickin' go. I'm gonna kind of draw a dumbbell. If you know those kind of like CrossFit ones, they're kind of like these Ooh, that's not the center. But I can just extrude it a little bit further. Kind of cheap. It's kind of like triangular sort of CrossFit dumbbells. Can I draw R2-D2? Am I allowed to draw whatever I want? I want to draw R2-D2. From the Star Wars. And I like the Star Wars, so it kind of feels it kind of feels like that's okay for my bio. But yeah, Jerry, you're doing eyes right now. Are you working on paper, Jerry, or are you messing around Digilate? What are you getting up to, man? R2-D2. I can't remember his like kind of exact pattern, but I feel we're getting the gist of it, you know? I feel we're getting the gist of the shape. R2-D2, R2 Haktoa. Spacing feels a little bit weird there. A little bit of an R2D2. Kind of give him a little bit of a... Wow! Yip yip! Kind of thing. Okay, yip yip! Now I'm thinking about Avatar. Do you know what Avatar's coming to mind? Okay, this is kind of going cool at the moment. This is kind of going cool at the moment. Hey, and we hit 2 hours, so I think I've actually, I'm doodling a little bit more. But I think I've hit the, I think I've hit the 50 rule in this stream here. Which is pretty cool. Like, I think I've managed to do, I think I've managed to do 50% of the time. Right? 50% of the time has been spent studying and watching the lessons and making notes. So an hour of that, which has been bookended either side by half an hour of drawing on the bits of paper, which I think's pretty cool. I think that's pretty damn cool. I should do a Knuckles, because Knuckles is like my boy, right? So we could get, and then he fits in the prompt as well. He fits in the idea of like character persona bio, because like I love him. So he fits because I said he fits, you know? I kinda just want to give him like goofy dot eyes rather than go for like, maybe even make him angry. You're going digital. So what do you use an iPad, Jerry, or do you have, because I know you've got an iPad. So do you work on iPad? Use like Procreate or something? What's the digital Jerry Fox setup? Taking a little break. Fair enough, dude. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm gonna add in kind of my weird stylized Knuckles. But I'm into him. I think he's cool. Looks kind of squiddy. Looks kind of Kit Fisto-y if we're getting into our we want to keep talking about the Star Wars. Ooh, should I give him like massive hands? I kind of like that as a concept of him just having like massive ass hands, and he's like, knock knock, knock knock, it's Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, he don't chuckle. He just rather flexes muscles. We're just messing around without reference, right? We're just like drawing dudes. So they end up pretty off model because I'm trying to do it from memory for one. And then for number two, my mark making skills are not the most prominent. They're not the best. Let's give Pikachu, actually I'm gonna give Pikachu crazy. I'm gonna, oh yeah, let's make Pikachu look like that. That's funny. That's not what I meant to do, but let's do that. Oh my god. This is gonna be like weird ass Pikachu, but I like it. I like what we're doing. Okay, I like this. I like where this is accidentally going. I like where this Pikachu is accidentally going. Procreate. Procreate dreams. Guys, I can't remember. Pikachu doesn't have black on his tail, does he? That's like a Mandela effect thing, isn't it? It's just on the ears. Right? He maybe has a little brown bit there, I think. But the actual tail, that's just yellow, isn't it? Okay, that's my, really, dorky-ass Pikachu. I kind of don't know what to do with this sort of negative space here. Because I kind of feel like I want this to be like a sheep. You know? Like I want there to just be like a bunch of different stuff here. I feel like I want to fill it, and I feel like I can. Maybe I put a little leaf here. I do a little flower. Is that okay? Is that cheating? Is it because I'm just gonna put a flower here and I'm a flower is some basic ass thing to draw? Is that acceptable? Or am I allowed to just draw what I want? What are the rules of engagement here, you know? Oof. Da 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 da. Oh my god. I'm gonna put a lightning bolt here. I don't care. I don't care. I know it's cheating. I just wanted to fill in that space. You know? Okay, I got this area here. What if over here I do a chicken? I know. What if I kind of give him some sort of Pac-Man-y style eyes, right? And then I give him a beak. And then I give him his, well, maybe not Pac-Man-y style, but I give him some beady eyes, right? A chicken. And then I go around here. And I bring him down here. And I go all the way around. Right? And then I go all the way around. And I give him a bump, bump, bump. And then I give him a whoop. I give him a ba 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 ba. And I give him a rump. And then I go a little bit like this. Yeah? And then we kind of put him on a little bed. So give that a little bit of chicken. And he's cluck you! Alright, I'm gonna zoom out. Oh, I say zoom out. I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit so you can kind of see where we're at so far. We got a few things on there. That's kind of respectable. Rex. 1st of October. 2024. Smiley face. kind of cool. That's something. That's something achieved. You know what I mean? We did some drawings, we did some whatever. We did some studying, we watched the video. I think that's a pretty good use of time. And I think that's something I can do. I think that's something I can integrate into my routine. You know, we get in little 2-hour practices. We do, you know, or an hour, or how much time we got. We do like an hour of study, an hour of watching, or we do 15 minutes of drawing, 30 minutes of study, 15 minutes of drawing. I don't know, but I think that would be kind of like a good format of like I start drawing, I do study, I finish drawing. And I feel if I do that and over time, I feel we're going to get somewhere. I feel there's going to be some sort of progression. So cool. Thank you for hanging out today. So, you know, like you guys have made, you know, just like me goofing around and playing video games more fun. And now I've even got the process of like studying and trying to learn and stuff like that. And you guys are making it more fun. Which is really cool. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with this. I'm gonna work out what kind of feels reasonable for, I suppose, like how many times a week I try to fit this in and stuff like that. But I think I can fit like, you know, decent bits of practice like this in, and I'll try and improve the lighting setup and all that sort of thing. I'll stick with the pen and the paper because that's what the dude in the video was saying as well. So I'll focus on this stuff, and then I can like move in the future into more of the digital art stuff and things like that. Because I mean, I have this. I got the Apple Pencil, and I've got the Procreate and whatever, so I can try to use that. But I think learning this first makes more sense to me, because then when I've got this down, I can then transfer some of those skills and try and learn this. I think that's a good place for me to start. But thanks. This is a completely different thing for this channel, but this channel is gonna be like that, right? You know, stuff like you know, playing the video games and stuff like that. It's always gonna be there, and I enjoy it, and I like doing that sort of stuff. But there's gonna be weird stuff every so often, and there's gonna be like, I like this idea of like improvement and education and whatever. I would like to do, you know, maybe even like some fitness stuff. I would like to do some stuff like more like this art, other learning stuff, educational stuff, trying to improve on different things. But yeah, no, so thank you for hanging out, because I know it's kind of a weird one, because there was huge stretches of this where we were just like sat and watching a video together. You know what I mean? Which is kind of a little bit odd. But I'm it's really cool that you guys were like hanging out and, you know, listening and learning with me, and, you know, kind of, you know, seeing my perspective on how I was kind of processing some of that information, and hearing how you guys processing information, stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'll work out kind of, I guess, the division of when I'm gonna do stuff like this, or when I'm gonna be playing games or whatever. Dude, in terms of, I've got military, they're preparing on October 12th. It's it's Spain's national holiday, right? And I think you've heard from the streams before, I live in the center of Madrid. So you quite often hear the police sirens, or the protests, or the manifestations, or all those sorts of things happening outside my window. Today, and this will be happening like until October 12th, there's loads of jets, there's military jets flying past my window constantly, because they're practicing for all the like the demonstrations of like the military show on like October the 12th. So at the moment, I've had all day today military jets, like, meow, doing all these maneuvers outside my window. It's crazy, man. It's actually crazy. But yeah, thanks again, guys. I'm sure I'll catch some of you guys again soon. I might post up a little photo of some of the goofy ass stuff that I got worked on today. I'm excited to see more of this course. I'm like very much vibing with it. If anybody else wants to do that's the first prompt you got, that character or sonar bio. So if anybody wants to interpret that and do that their own way, jump on board. This is my interpretation. I've got my character, and then I've got a biographical thing of my life by all these objects. So if you want to take part in any of that yourself, feel free. But peace out, guys. I'll see you all soon. Super fun to do something different. Enjoy, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, bye, bye.